Hi guys, welcome to Candyland Live. We have the beautiful Aimee with us today, sharing about conscious relationships and relating to people consciously. Do you want to share a little bit about what you've noticed on your journey in the conscious realms?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's definitely a huge passion of mine to not only, I guess, be the best version of myself possible, but also to help inspire that in others. So I guess that's why I'm here speaking to you today and speaking to all of your beautiful followers and those that are tuning in, whether that be now or later. So yeah, conscious relating to me, it's really just about acknowledging that we actually have different parts of our brain, first and foremost, and we have this like conscious part of our brain that is willpower and choosing, decision making, being aware of where we're at and actually like taking powerful action forward, and then we have this unconscious part of our brain or subconscious, whatever you relate to, and this is where 95% of our habits and behaviours are formed, and where we outplay the patterns and programs and behaviours that have become unconscious. And so that to me is what I talk about in conscious relating. I'm not kind of talking about this like consciousness, like connection or spiritual kind of woo-woo. It's really actually about being really present and really conscious. Yeah. First and foremost where we're at, you know, and a common mistake I see people making is this, and I hear it all the time, and I'm sure you can relate. I'm a mom, and I'm not saying that I you know, am perfect in this realm either. I do it myself, but it's like, if only my children would listen to me and do as I say, then life would be, you know, calm. Or if only my partner would do this, or if only my parents loved and accepted me for who I was. And it's all of this kind of external, I'm going to say blaming. Yeah. We don't mean to blame, it's more of just like the programs that we play out, but it's this external seeking of solutions, whereas conscious anything is really turning the mirror on ourselves and getting a real clear reality of where we're at. Yeah. And it's not unless we actually want to look at that and we actually want to put that mirror up and say, look, who am I? Well, what are my patterns that are playing out? What are my programs that I'm playing out? And also just understanding that this is human nature. Yeah. We're not trying to make anyone right or wrong. Again, this is like a common mistake that I see with my friends and with my family members, is that like we feel broken and therefore we feel a lot of shame, and then we feel a lot of kind of embarrassment, and it makes the world or the journey of transformation a little bit more scary. Yeah. And a little bit more filled with kind of this fear and overwhelm of negative emotions, and that's really not what it needs to be. Like this again, it's just a pattern that we've been programmed with, is like to be wrong and to feel shameful and to feel guilt and all these things, and you know, I don't know where it comes from, but it's really not healthy. And I think that's probably the first and most important factor on the journey of transformation, or on the journey of conscious anything, is just to heal that inner child, inner parent relationship.
It's totally an automated reaction, isn't it? Like, I catch myself doing it all the time, like probably far less than I did a decade ago, but it's just this like stimulus happens outside of us, and then there's this automatic response of blaming the other party or the universe or God or whatever's involved, right?
Yeah, and blaming them, and then taking it that step further and then shaming ourselves.
Yeah.
So a lot of us can acknowledge and can be a witness. Oh shit, you know, I shouldn't be doing that. Oh shit, you know, that's my reaction. I'm in a reaction phase, and then we go into this really negative cycle of making ourselves wrong, or making ourselves shamed in our behaviour, or
the bad guy because I blew up.
Yeah, and again, most of this is really unconscious. So it is just kind of like this cycle that plays out, and we're aware of it sometimes, and we go into these, you know, reflection phases sometimes, but we don't actually ever really know how to break that pattern or break that cycle. And often the emotions are so overwhelming, whether they be shame, whether they be guilt, whether they be self-hatred, like there's a huge range of emotions that we can feel, that yeah, we really get lost on how we can help ourselves. So
But I guess you're bearing gifts on the house.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, another reason why I'm here today is because of my own journey. And you know, we first met in the realm of personal development, and I love
Back in the day.
It would have been a good 7 years ago, I think.
2013.
Yeah. And so I guess that's the first and most powerful point that anyone could take away is that, like, seek assistance.
Yeah.
I hit a point where I couldn't help myself. And so I started seeking externally, like, who can be a mentor, who can be a guide, who am I resonating with, and
it's really great to find somebody that can be that independent third party that doesn't get locked into the drama.
absolutely.
Like, it's no use getting life advice from somebody toxic.
Absolutely, and this is where we get most of our advice from.
Yeah.
We get on the phone and we speak to a girlfriend, and we speak to and you know, they've got our best interest at heart.
Yeah.
They want us to feel nurtured and loved
Validated.
and validated, but they're just doing it in really unhelpful and limiting ways.
Kind of feeding it, hey?
Definitely keeping us in our story, keeping us in our past, and keeping us in really what I like to call victim mode.
Yeah.
And you know, that can be a real slap in the face. It's kind of that cliche, the truth will piss you off, but then it'll set you free.
Yeah.
And these are the kinds of people that we want to have in our life. And if we don't have them in our life, then seek a mentor, seek a guide, seek somebody who is trained in these realms, in human psyche, human behavior, even relationships. And again, a common mistake I see people make is this, like, because there's a belief that something's broken, you kind of just don't want to go there. I'm just gonna, like, put my blindfold on, put my blinkers on, and get along with my day, which will only really serve you for so long. Yeah.
And it's weird how people put a full stop. Like, I'm broken, end of discussion, can't move from here, that's it, that's just the way it is. Whereas, it's interesting that our realities are primarily created in the part of the brain responsible for your imagination.
Yeah.
So you're imagining that you're broken,
Yeah.
and then you're ensuring that it becomes the truth by not modifying those belief sets and those behaviours. It's almost madness. It'd have to be madness.
It really is. Well, and this is the programming of society.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that you brought that up, because something I've been diving into massively at the moment is this world of quantum physics.
Yeah.
And really because I'm a science nerd.
Yeah.
Like, I at my university course, the only degree I got like 100% of was my science degree, like my maths degree, because I freaking love to know the nitty gritties. And when you can understand that concept of quantum physics that explains the energy waves and explains the particles and explains how when you shift your focus to something, that's when it manifests into matter. Then you can, and we're not going to get into that today, a whole other topic.
It's like, whoa!
But then we can really understand, like, there's a reality of me being really unhappy, and there's a reality of me being really happy, and there's a reality of me having these really shit relationships, really shit interactions. And when I talk relationships, I'm talking with your children, I'm talking with your parents, I'm talking with your siblings, I'm talking with your lover. First and foremost with yourself. When we really get into the how, that is the number one step. Like, develop a practice where you're getting to know yourself, because it's from this practice that we can create. Where am I in reality? Where do I sit on my scale? Because we all have blinkers, and we all kind of like have these tunnel vision that we're receiving from the world based on past experiences, based on the meanings that we've given to experiences, and therefore our truth is actually generally really clouded. And
it's kind of like a choice between take no responsibility and blame everybody else and be permanently miserable, because that's not going to achieve anything, or own it and gain responsibility. And for somebody that hasn't been in the personal development realm, like, owning it and taking responsibility is such a concept that they have no access to.
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody that was like, okay, I've decided I'm going to stop blaming people.
Yeah.
And I'm going to own it.
Yeah.
But what does that look like? How
What
does
does that mean?
Yeah, for you.
Yeah, for me it's this, it is absolutely getting some education.
Yeah.
And to me, there's 3 realms of education that have become really powerful for my life, and it's the mindset. So first of all, it's seeking that mindset, that like how does our mind work? What is the conscious mind? What is the unconscious mind? And how can I start to support myself in shifting these habits and behaviours that have become me. They may not have been originally me, but they've become me now.
Yeah, it's weird how people know to get an update on their mobile phone, but they refuse to update themselves.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely love that analogy. It is perfect way to describe it. We are updating our phone and our software all of the time, and actually one of the first things I say is we are like a computer, and we've been infiltrated with these viruses that are dysfunctional. We just need to have kind of a reboot. Yeah. Really important in that comes next is this kind of embodiment. So an example for me of that is consciously I knew that my mum loved me.
Yeah.
Consciously I knew that she was really proud of me. And I knew that, even though she wasn't a big hugger, she was doing the best she could with who she was as a human. Just right up until a few years ago, my brother and I would discuss this, and I think at one point we even said to her, Mum, I just want you to hear you say you're proud of me.
Yeah.
And I think the words that came out of her mouth were, Ames, I'm really proud of what you're trying to achieve. Now, she did the best she could. She loved me. She dedicated her whole life to us children, to the point of she lost her life only a couple of years ago. It wasn't until I did an embodiment practice where I was really diving into the realms of Tantra, mindfulness, meditation, all sorts of different things. And when I say Tantra, I mean like esoterical worlds, not just going to this kind of like workshop where we're all doing weird stuff, but actually learning deep, ancient, esoteric ways of moving trauma through our body. And I learned this tool called aspecting. And I'd love to share it with you guys now because it was really, really powerful for me. And to me, this is why embodiment has to come along with mindset. Because again, consciously I knew she was trying to do the right thing, and I knew she loved me as a concept. But there was still something within me that was self-sabotaging, that was unable to decipher what I needed in a moment of trauma. And so we're in this paddock, and my beautiful mentor, Sigourney Bell, she is teaching us aspecting. It's day 4, so it's not like we've just started this. We've had a lot of processing. We've learnt to listen to our inner child, which is our emotions. She's the one that wants to throw a tantrum or scream, why didn't you ever cuddle me, Mum? Or whatever it is. We've learnt to self-parent, other 2 really important tools that I believe everyone should revisit and dive into. That inner parent that says, shut up, your emotions aren't valid. Oh, you're being too needy. Oh, you're being too emotional.
The Australian favourite, hard enough.
And that was my mum to a T. Single mum, hard enough. And you'll be fine. Yeah, I know I'll be fine. But right now I'm really fucking hurting, it's hard. And so I'm in the paddock, and my mentor is screaming at me, what do you have to say to your mum? And so aspecting, I'll jump back a little bit, it's where you go through a practice of calling in an energy, and it can be an energy of someone who's alive or past, it can be an aspect of yourself, it can be your children, your partner, your parent, whatever. And of course I'm healing my mum, and she's just recently passed away, so it was even more kind of emotional. It had only been 4 months. And I'm being encouraged to say what I need to say, and so my little girl is like, you never cuddled me. Why did I have to cry in my bedroom as a teenager? I was very emotional, big empath, feeling the world, feeling my world, feeling my friends, feeling the bullying, all of the things. And louder. Why didn't you ever cuddle me? Why can't you tell me you're proud of why? And before I know it, I'm howling at this open paddock in why didn't you cuddle me? And then the guilt of screaming that to my past mother, and then I'm curled up in a ball, just sobbing as to like all of these emotions. And it was the first time in my life that I'd given that little girl a voice.
Yeah.
Because how dare I scream out at my dead mother?
Yeah, that's something in society. Like, I process grieving with my as a therapist with my clients, and it's this whole like grooming of not to speak ill of the deceased, and it's like we're not doing that to be vindictive or something. We're doing that to let go so we can be in full love of the deceased.
And actually, like, my body is alive
Same.
just speaking about it, because that's exactly it. We've shamed these different parts of us, or we've suppressed these different aspects of ourselves, and therefore we're actually not even able to discern or understand what it is that we need.
Or even self-express it.
And self-express it safely. And for certain, in my reality, society wasn't able to hold my grief. I was I was the cuddler, I was the crier, I'm the only girl in my family, I was the emotional body, and I was seen as too emotional and too expressive, and no one could hold the too muchness. The too muchness, yeah. And again, it comes from this place of wanting to fix and hold. It comes from this space of, oh my God, you're hurting so much and I can't deal with that. So the intention is great. It's just our understanding around grief, especially the expression of grief, is really not supported in this modern world. So yeah, I guess that takes me back to the point of having a practice for yourself, creating that container within yourself where you can express fully, where you can feel the depth of the emotion. Because once I felt the depth of that sadness, that self-hurt, then it transformed into, like, of course you did. Then the consciousness kept, then the body caught up with the consciousness. Yeah. Then the trauma in the body released. And I was able to actually go, oh my God, like, of course you love me and you're doing the best I can. And actually from that moment forward, my self-nurturing shifted massively. Yeah. So the boundaries that I implemented in my life, I was like going, whoa, how am I with my kids, just simply getting them to do the dishes and it working without yelling, without that toxic reaction that happens in life, you know? And yeah, so it's this discovering a daily practice, so that you can get really clear on yourself, you can get really clear on where you're at, the emotions, because most of the reactions, like you said, we're living in this place of reaction where we're reacting externally to what's going on in our life, and really that's a disempowering place to be. It is a place of habit and behaviours, and to really step into a place of power where we're creating from that place of possibility. It's like, all right, so I'm going to witness what arises within me. I'm going to witness the reaction. I'm going to have my own daily practice that allows me to really transform that and come back to my center and my clarity. And then we can communicate without the charge. Yeah. So that's the next stage in consciously relating, is like having your daily practice so that you can get to your truth. And then we can go, all right, so now I'm going to come together and have a beautiful conversation. Yeah. No longer it's this gameplay of who's right and who's wrong. No longer it's this external blaming of you're doing all of these things and they're making me feel this way. And it's actually,
you're responsible for your own emotions.
Yeah, actually a really powerful way to express yourself is after having done your practice. So actually, you know, I'm feeling really quite vulnerable in this moment. I'm feeling like I could really use some more certainty in our relationship. I'm feeling like I could really use some validating comments or some action that's going to really allow me to feel safe. And so we can learn to communicate more effectively from this place of I, rather than from this place of you. Yeah. And you're making and you're doing this. And you can still ask for what you need, but it's stemming from this place of I.
You and I were having this really cool conversation on the phone like this week, just gone.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation about, you know, people being scared of feeling emotion. Like the minute they feel emotion, they'll go and take a pharmaceutical. Yeah. Or they'll go and have a beer. Yeah. Or they'll go and watch porn. Or they'll go and
addictions.
You know, something. And it's really important that people understand what emotion is. Like, it's simply energy and motion flowing through the body. And what you were saying about trauma, the way I've come to understand it is that we have a cellular memory. So our bodies remember things from the past that our mind has already gotten over, moved on from. So when we're getting the body to align to that consciousness, it's like two separate parts of ourselves, even though it's whole.
Absolutely, and this is what I was talking about between the difference of mindset and then embodiment. Because consciously we can understand a concept, but it's like reading a gazillion books, and then all of a sudden you go somewhere in person. For example, I come and see you in person and you take me through a process, and I get the cellular changes because we embody something. So we actually are taken through something, it goes into our cells, and it's that energy that has shifted. So I like to actually call myself the elemental alchemist, because alchemy is just about that transformation of emotions. And I work really closely with the elements. I love the elements and the support and the medicine they can give us.
While you're touching on that, this is Aimee, guys. If you guys want to find her out in the real world, she's on Facebook. If you see any of this branding, this is her, so go ahead and like her. If you want to find her, you can directly message me as well. I can put you in a shared group message together. What would you say to somebody that was scared of their emotion? Like, where do they start?
So where do you start? Again, follow what that emotion is guiding you to, and find some support. Because we haven't been told, we haven't been guided by our elders, we've lost out on that part of society or tribe that shows us how to be supported and express some things. Go and find someone, and as Candy just said, I am here. I am so passionate about really supporting anyone who's taking action. So if you're ready to take action and you're ready to do those tiny little shifts that create the ripple effects, please reach out, say hello. I've got the time to give you my time if you are taking action, and then we can create a plan to go forward. And as I'm sure you're really passionate about as well, Candy. But the main step is get that daily practice. You've got to understand that energy is just emotions are just energy and motion. And what I like to teach people to do is connect to the elements, whether it's the earth, whether it's the wind, whether it's the water, whether it's the sun. Connect to our breath. Just drop into our body, emotions, and the overwhelm that comes with emotion is generally just our thought processes that are getting triggered and running a circle. Oh, you're feeling this. Oh, that's really bad. Oh, you've got anxiety. Oh, let's go into a state of fear, rather than,
come out of your head.
Come out of our head, get into our body, actually feel. And this is where people get scared, because they're like, oh my God, feeling hurts, or feeling doesn't feel nice, or feeling is scary, or whatever it is. It's like, it is for that fraction of the time.
People think it's not going to end.
But actually when we block it and we numb it, so many people, as you were saying, numb with alcohol, numb with porn, numb with cigarettes, shopping, sex, whatever it is. Social media these days, scrolling, how many times do you lose an hour or 2 hours?
Any kind of screen.
And so when we numb, we just stack and then explode.
So I had a beautiful metaphor on that once. It's like this, I think it was a lady said, it's like being at the beach with a beach ball. If you have one emotion, you can kind of hold it under the water for a bit. But if you don't learn how to take the ball out of the water, you're constantly fighting with it. And then what happens when you get another emotion? And then you've got this other ball. And then it's this constant thing. But until you learn how to take yourself out of the situation, or disassociate, or look from that independent place, you're constantly just trying to...
And so that's something that I witness in my clients, and I love what I do, because when I teach someone to feel fully, they feel, and quite often it's a breakdown in tears, especially women who have to be stronger, run the ship, be very masculine.
And isn't it odd how everyone that cries in front of us will also apologise for crying?
Yes.
It's like, no, like, I'm not doing my job.
Oh, what am I doing? Oh my god, I'm crying. Where did this come from? I was like, oh, this is a common, this is a regular, you know. But the relief that they feel at the end of a session, and that's why they keep coming back, because they're like, oh, I just felt fully for the first time in probably 30 years. And because I allowed that release, because I allowed and I honoured the little girl in me or the little boy in me who hasn't been heard for probably 30 years, because I've listened to Aimee and she's teaching me how to self-parent, she's teaching me to go, oh, you're so valid in your opinion. You're so valid in feeling betrayed in this situation.
But you can't do it in your head.
No.
It comes from here. Like, it's a real, no, this is a boundary for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And reprogramming that parent that is often suppressive or dismissive or invalidating.
Yeah.
And then coming back to, oh, okay, so this is my calm.
Yeah.
This is my center. This is my clarity. And then we can move forward really powerfully and we can choose, oh, that really hurt me. That boundary was crossed. I don't want to have that in my life anymore. And therefore I'm going to put this boundary in place. And something that I really actually want to touch on is, it's funny, like, I'm doing a talk today and on the weekend, and all of my clients are calling you with relationship problems, you know, and it's like this collective consciousness that comes into play.
Calling into existence.
Yeah. And so a thing that I'm really speaking into a lot at the moment is these healthy boundaries, and especially for people who love. They're loving people. They're devotional people. Sometimes they have soft boundaries because I know for me this is a common thing. Because I love them, but they're a good person. Yeah, but I see their potential, I see their good, and actually what this is doing is holding them in a place of stubbornness. Yeah, the same. You're not actually allowing them to have their own transformation or to recognize where they're potentially really mistreating the people in their life. And so what I really want to share is, if you really love someone, whether it be a mother, and this is conscious relating. It's not just letting everyone walk all over you and, oh, I'm conscious in my relating and therefore I'm very aware of what's
secretly resenting you.
Yeah, actually conscious relating is going, I really love you. Yeah. And I really love me. And actually, until we're able to have this open communication or understanding or whatever it is, until you're actually able to meet this boundary and this need of mine, we're just going to have some space. And I love you, and I just want you to reflect on perhaps a few things or whatever it is, and creating that distance. And again, it might be with your mum if she's a really toxic lady, it might be with your brother, it might be with your best friend. And what I really also want to make really clear is that it comes from this space of love. Yeah. So you don't have to be, in fact, if you are angry, if you are in a space of heightened emotion and you're reactive, reach out and get some guidance. Yeah.
I'm not punishing you because I'm angry. I'm putting a boundary in and I'm giving you the time and space to realize whether or not our friendship is worth you respecting it or not.
Yes.
In your heart.
Yes. Yeah. And that is a place of transformation. Yeah. Because then they can actually go, oh, I still feel your love. You're not just being a bitch. You're not just cutting me out.
Silent treatment.
Yeah. It's like, no, I'm willing for us to get together, but we're going to actually consciously relate. Yeah. And we're actually going to be real with each other, and I'm going to, like you said, disassociate and play witness. This is a really powerful thing.
What do you mean, I know what you mean by play witness, but for everyone at home, for extra value, what do you mean by play witness?
So it's almost like when we're in the mix of it and we're really, I'm going to use my daughter for an example, we're really like fiery and I'm stuck in the story. I'm stuck in, but you're doing this and, like I'm the mum and rah, rah, rah. Whereas
we're really in our bodies,
really in our
faces,
and really feeling everything, and really emotions running through us. Yeah. So there's charge, whether it's sadness, anger, jealousy, whatever, there's charge. Whereas if you can play witness, then it's like this coming up to a bird's eye view.
Yeah, it's like you come out of yourself and see the back of your own head.
Yes,
Yeah.
so we start to pretend that I'm not me and that I'm watching a play or I'm watching something unfold.
Yeah.
And this becomes really powerful because, especially if you're someone that's coming from love and devotion and a place of desiring transformation, you can sit up here and go, look at that mum just being a psycho to her child.
It is kind of like watching TV and giving advice to what's on the TV.
Yeah,
Like when you're in your body, or in NLP terms we call this association, as you already know, but for everyone at home, when you're associated, you're in your body and you cannot see anything else. But when you're disassociated, it's like giving life advice to yourself, but it's way more effective than life advice because only you know all of the factors in the issue.
Yeah. Association often plays from patterns and behaviours, from trauma. I'm being reactive because my daughter is reminding me of her father.
Yes.
I'm being reactive.
That's a common one.
I'm sure there are many people that can
my
relate to
son
that.
looks like my wife.
Yeah, whatever it is, there's that, or, you know, like, and it could even be that, you know, your partner is triggering you because they're bringing up how your dad used to treat you or something, you know, and so we're in this very reactive space because we're in our body, we're being triggered. Being able to disassociate allows us to hold that mirror. Oh, I'm being triggered. What can I learn here?
I own my emotion first of all.
Yeah.
And what can I communicate in such a way that I transform it?
Yeah, and so there's some really important steps here in that we're not disassociating to bypass.
No.
Especially in the spiritual world, there's a lot of bypassing that happens. There's a lot of we learn to talk the talk.
Yeah.
We don't actually embody and walk the walk. It is. It's like, I'm just going to disassociate here for a moment so that I can get a clear picture. So that I can really actually just witness how my patterns and behaviours are playing out, how I'm at fault, how I can be in a space of action. And this is not victim playing, this is I'm responsible, I'm at cause here to make the changes, I'm the parent, I'm whatever. So we're not bypassing. And this is also why we want to have a daily practice, because that charge, that emotion, you should really look at that.
Yeah.
This is where having a daily practice, being able to understand trigger work and go, okay, what's this trigger got to teach me?
Always an echo.
Yeah, and allow it to move, allow it to arise within you, recognize self-parenting in a child. Really quickly, if anyone's looking for embodiment tools, breath, breathing deep into the belly, movement, energy is emotions or energy in motion. So anxiety often just needs some shaking to get it through your body and some intention.
One of my friends watched me pace once. And she's like, just sit down, it's not a good look. And I'm like, nah, it's going to come out.
I need to get this out, you know, and that's somebody trying to fix and hold and contain. It's
with love.
Yeah, with love. But it's like, no, actually, this is, I need expression.
Still, it comes all into here.
And into here. And this is the overwhelm, And so that daily practice is really important, but I'd also really love to share on triggers. And, you know, triggers are really powerful when you know how to work with them. This is another thing that I teach a lot of the women and coaches that I work with. So a trigger is actually something, for example, if I'm being triggered by someone who's really arrogant, their arrogance is just like, disgusting, such a turn off. Well, do I actually need to have more arrogance myself? Because a certain amount of arrogance is actually really beautiful and quite a turn on and quite healthy. It's when it's out of balance that it's not. And so perhaps I'm a walkover and I've got no self-worth and I've got no self-belief, and arrogance really triggers me. Because I need to embody, I need to embody some of that. I need to be like, fuck yeah, I got some goods, you know, like I've got some wisdoms to share, and I know that I'm good at what I do. The second thing that a trigger could potentially be showing you is the shadow of that, and you're being triggered by someone who's arrogant because you're exactly the same. But these are the filters that we wear, these are the blinkers that we wear, like, oh my god, they're arrogant, they're horrible. And it's like, babe, you're actually so fucking similar. And when you get drunk, you are like the most arrogant person ever, and you should look at that. So again,
not that we've ever been drunk together. That was a third party, someone else over here.
That was a typical play out of what can happen when the shadow is playing out and we're unaware and we're not willing to look at that truth within ourselves. And then the final thing that a trigger can show us is what I like to call a golden shadow, which is where we idolize that in somebody.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
yeah, enchantment.
Yeah, and I could never be worthy of that, or I could never. And so it's like, what I would actually encourage in any three of those is to pull it into your body.
Yeah.
Choose a song that is just totally all down about the arrogance and embody it, like call it in, imagine how being that, and like, and then we get this cellular change.
Yeah.
And it's,
kinesthetics love the movement. And the other thing as well is if you find yourself quite visual, is to see yourself doing it, to play it through in your mind, and also to hear it for the audio. So like if you're very sound orientated, you might have to hear yourself being that way.
Yeah, so this is the embodiment, and so it's breath, movement, sound, touch, and awareness. And so, you know, the movement might just be a little bit, and if you are really sound orientated, then you're going to be making a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm good. Like, good jam saying and all that kind of stuff. And if you're a touchy person, then you might be like really just like, yeah, like getting some real physical touch. And so that's, I guess, again, my main take-home points from today is like find a coach and a mentor, get some education. We all need education. This is life-changing stuff when you're courageous enough to seek some external support. And that comes in the set of mindset, understanding how we work in the mind, understanding how we work in the physical body.
And can I just touch on choosing a coach as well? Like, we often make decisions with our heads. And you can argue everything from every direction when you're making a decision with your head. And like, so often I see people going with a particular coach, a particular trainer, because they've called them more.
Yes. Yeah.
And they've like worn them down until finally they get a yes.
Yeah.
Whereas it's more like when I picked my trainer, Lauren Jobson, if you're watching, hi, beautiful. When I picked her, she was like, oh, you know, I'm pregnant, I'm having a baby, and it's going to be my last training for a while. And I was like, so if I don't do this training, I don't get to train with you. Because I knew within myself that was my person.
There was something.
That was my trainer, that was my human. And I knew that, because I had rang pretty much everybody that I could find on the internet for doing my training. Yeah. And when I heard her voice on the phone, I went, that's her.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the embodiment. So our heart actually sends messages before our brain, and we've been so desensitized through shutdown, through addictions, through whatever it is that we desensitize with, that we it's still here, but we're very much led by this. And so before you make any decision, just slow your breathing down, even close your eyes and remove the distractions of the outside world. Put your hands on your heart, your hands on your belly, and really drop into that heart space and be guided by the physical body. Yeah. Because me too, your gut knows, your body knows. It's what I do. I help coaches in particular get out of their mindset, because we got to know mindset, and that's so powerful, but then we've got to also be led, in particular women, by our physical body. And I was really similar as well. I followed my heart's calling to an event that I wasn't even interested in hypnosis, and it changed my life.
Because the only thing that happens when you allow someone to talk you into doing their program, and you're like, your head's like, oh yeah, it's cheaper, or it's quicker, or somehow better, but you feel like you don't really gel with that person. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to fight them emotionally and energetically the whole way through the program. Out here in the front, you're going to be all polite and all lovely, but underneath it all, you're going to be like, this person rubs me up the wrong way, or like, I just don't gel. Whereas when you've really got a full connection with a trainer or a coach or a mentor, like your body has like a particular, it's like I hear a sound.
Yeah.
It's almost like this
Within you that's saying yes.
when it's like, this is my human.
Yeah.
This human validates me, they value similar things that I value, they listen to who I am as a person, they understand who I am as a person, and they're not just here to give me a qualification or a package or whatever.
Yeah. I definitely feel like choosing your coach and mentor is so important.
Yeah.
And it is actually going to be the difference on whether you succeed or whether you don't.
Totally.
And it's probably even going to be the difference on whether you show up or not. You know, so many courses we invest in and then we just don't show up. Or we do the logic, but we don't embody what it is that we've learned.
And often I find, like when I worked with Lauren, she had a very graceful, very powerful, like so much power but still so soft at the same time.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I've never been trained with somebody that embodies that.
Yeah.
And because I was trained by her, I adopted some of that as well. Because before I trained with her, I was trained by very masculine trainers, like great in their own right, doing well in the world, you know, like still served me.
Yeah.
But when I was in their trainings, I was kind of like,
it's
falling asleep and like not really gelling, and because I wasn't really gelling, I wasn't really excited, and because I wasn't really excited, I wasn't really getting the results.
Yeah.
But when I went and worked with Lauren, it was this, she just had this way of being that I thought, if I could be that kind of trainer, I'd win.
Embodied.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
and it is something that you feel.
Yeah.
So
it's not a thinking thing.
It's not a thinking thing.
Yeah.
And when I say embodied, I mean we are women, and you've been trained by a woman.
Yeah.
It's not to say that men can't be embodied. They absolutely can. But I love that we're just finishing up on this topic of masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
Because men and women are different.
Yeah.
And the masculine energies are very different than the feminine energies. And so I think that's probably my third and final point, is that if you're wanting to relate consciously with those in your life, recognize what energy you have within you.
Yeah.
Most women, it's the feminine.
Yeah.
However, there are some women who resonate more deeply with the masculine energy, and vice versa with the males. And really start to heal that within you. Because we play out very, very dysfunctional energies. The feminine is quite often in a very masculine role a lot of the time, very doing, goal orientated.
Workplace equality.
And that's where it came from, you know, and again, this isn't to make anything wrong.
Just
It's examples, and it's also an understanding, you know, like when the feminist movement came through and we wanted to be equal to men, we had to adopt what they did. If I'm going to be like you, I'm going to do it better. And what that's resulted in is this context that to be soft is to be weak. And you just sort of put it so beautifully. She was strong, but she was soft
at the same time.
And so a really powerful woman
has that.
Is soft and comes from this space of love and devotion.
And not structure and doing.
No, not structure and doing. Yes, of course, we embody some of it. You know, we have a cycle, we have the goals and all of these things, but we're in very much flow state. We're very much connected to the creative forces that flow through us, very much connected to the world around us. We were talking before about collective consciousness. You know, I'm doing a talk today, and on Saturday, and all of my clients are coming to me about conscious relating, you know, so there is this energy that drives us, humanity, nature, all of the things.
It's missing in society.
Definitely missing in how we can connect to it and allow it to surrender to be guided by it. It's quite a scary thing for most people to like
let go of the control.
Let go of the control, but still take it. You know, it's like, let go of control, sweet. I'll just like be swept away in the current. No,
not that crazy.
Not that crazy. Yeah, it's like it's like let go of the control, but then have this powerful action, such as, I want a coach or a mentor. Put it out there, create the language, create the thought, create the possibility of having an amazing coach or mentor. Maybe do a couple of search options, maybe listen to some lives, and then be like, oh, that person, I resonate with them.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to reach out. I'm just going to say, hey, most coaches and mentors do like a 15-minute discovery call or do something so that you can get to know each other, because we're all there. And any coach who doesn't, you know, like maybe look on, because I know for myself, I'm not a perfect match for everyone.
It's good for both parties involved.
Yeah.
Not just the trainer or the coach and the recipient, but like it's good for both of you to, you know, the metaphor that I like to use is the jigsaw. When you're putting together a jigsaw puzzle, you don't bend the edges on shapes that don't fit and make them.
No.
You just move them to a place where they fit and they click in. And everything has a place in the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's also what I love about, you know, people coming together to support each other in their business and in their gifts.
Like today.
Like we're different, we're similar, but we're different, and people are going to resonate with you. And if I see someone who that, this is your woman, you know, and then others are going to resonate with me, and it's like, actually, you know what, I think Aimee's your woman. So it is. It's this understanding that we're
secretly why I have you on the show today. By the way. Kind of do that. Like we have different genres. Like I'm seen as a little bit more corporate, a little bit more business orientated, a little bit more business structured, a little bit more like qualifications, and in the industry we know that as a little bit more masculine, whereas you're a lot more about movement and intuition and all of those beautiful feminine qualities. Of the trainers that are in my role in the world, I am probably the more feminine of them. But compared to you guys.
Well, that's something I fought with for a long time and compared myself to so many, you know, that, oh my God, I'm not doing it like everybody else is. The universe rewards that, because like I'm like, it's coming, you know, and again, originally I wanted to work with mums mostly. Mums don't have a lot of time. Single mums certainly don't have a lot of money to invest in themselves, you know, and it's like, all right, I'm going to have to like surrender to this different path so that I can help the mums who's really what I want to help, you know, because that's my journey and my story. But then, it's like all these female coaches and even male coaches who are like, there's something that you've got. Like, what is that? Like, what is it that you've got? And it's like,
better everything.
It's just a little bit more embodiment. It's a little bit more energy flow. It's a little bit more trust of where we're going. Like we still need the structure. We still need, you know, I have an interview. I got to shop here at 1 o'clock. Like we need to goal set and plan and all these things. But at the same time, just trust that.
And it shows up as charisma and whimsical, but still somehow on time and reliable and trustable and loyal. Like that's the beautiful balance.
And that's where I'm so grateful for mindset, because I was so lost in the chaos.
I remember.
So lost.
You remember old Cannon too, I'm
sure. Like there's so much happen. How do I control my life?
Back in 2013. I remember doing the programs that you were around and being on stage. I don't know if you were there or not, but I remember the time in my life. And it really was just everybody else's fault. It really, really was.
And how do, and this like awareness, but how do I? How can I possibly do it all? And then all of a sudden it starts to become really healthy, and like you're like, oh,
survival mode drops off.
The nervous system's reprogrammed. It's like, oh, I'm in control. Oh, I have a choice.
I can
create this. Oh, if I spend this little bit of time planning, then this all flows much more easier and like a gentle storm, not like a chaotic tsunami. Absolutely. What else can we chat about?
Is there anything, if you could tap the world with a magic wand and have it get something for itself, what would it be?
The world, say that again.
So you've got a magic wand and you're just going to tap the world. Like if Aimee could have humans get one thing, what do you think it would be?
It would, like, the awareness that all the shit that you've been told and that you've been telling yourself is just actually not true.
Yeah, it's a little bit imaginary.
Like you can actually just right now in this moment have an epiphany of awakening and go, wow, I can be me from this moment forward. I can have an awareness to all of those thoughts, and I can actually gain some really powerful tools, breath, movement, sound, touch, alchemy, to help me shift those emotions and the energy, the overwhelm that's moving through. I can use the power of my mind, my vision, and create. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to experience this old in the next hour or half an hour or 3 days, whatever.
Probably will.
Absolutely will.
Test you, see
And then
how
I
you
can
want
shift again.
Yeah.
And so it's this awareness of all of that stuff that we've been saying of like, I am me, I am a creator, energy is a real thing. And I
it's almost like what I'm hearing and what you're saying is, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But it's like you do have a say in the way it goes.
Yeah.
You really, really, really do.
Yeah. And like the woo-woo side of that is the law of attraction. So everyone would have heard of the law of attraction or the power of now. There's so many on the spiritual realms of this, even in the Tantra and yogic ways, they physically are aware of this law because they practice it in meditation and in movement and these in the asanas and these sorts of things. Einstein had this theory before it was proven, and everything is energy.
Imagination is a preview of the future?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in the last 10 years, if you have not already dived into the realm of quantum physics and what it is when we go beyond matter, and you're a science nerd, just do it. Like, do yourself a favor and understand the science behind the woo-woo sayings of you create your reality, because you really do. And actually, that's what I'll talk on now. I'm not sure how much longer we've got, but
I got away.
beautiful. I can talk about this kind of shit all day. When we start to get, beyond the concept of matter, so physical matter, things that we can feel, things that I can see, things that I can taste. When we get smaller than that, we get into waves and particle waves. Vibrations. And so this is where people say, you can manifest your reality. You've just got to say what you want and it'll happen. Well, no, it goes a little bit deeper than that, because there's the possibility or the impossibility. We sit somewhere in the middle, and whatever we think and feel, we create. So we can't just say an affirmation. Like when I was in my most darkest times, highly anxious, very unwell, big state of healing, affirmations didn't work. I could look on the mirror and say I am worthy, all I wanted.
But this was vibrating at a different
completely different frequency, and it was almost like I'd say I'm worthy, and then this part of me would cry because I wasn't acknowledging them. I wasn't acknowledging this little girl inside of me that was like, I am fucking broken. I am so broken and I do not feel worthy at all. And so my vibration, I'm not creating that.
It's like customer service in the front, resentment in the back.
Yeah. So it's like, we've first got to acknowledge that, yes, we have to create it with our language, but then we also have to acknowledge that we have to create it in our vibration.
The embodiment.
So the embodiment. So we've got to manifest your reality. The secret behind creating your reality, manifestation, all of these things, is to really bring it into your physical self and then your energetical self.
Yeah.
So to do that, we can use the power of our mind. We can visualize, go back to a time when you felt worthy. You would have used this process on a lot of your clients, I'm sure, where you're like,
state management.
Yeah, you're like, you want to feel courageous. Okay, so have you ever felt courageous in your life? And you get them to go back into that time and see, feel, taste, smell all the things that they were tasting, and then you see them physically change. And wow, I'm a courageous being. Whereas 2 minutes ago, I really was not a courageous being. And
And that is the stimulation, just for the nerds at home, that's the stimulation of neurological pathways that you haven't been utilising.
yes.
You've got neural freeways or neural highways that you've been using, like the reside in cynical, the negative in you, and then all of a sudden you get
The dysfunctional parenting.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden you get a whole heap of oxygen and nutrition over to these old neurological pathways of those times when you did feel worth,
Yes.
you did feel powerful, you did feel confident. And then the more we use them, the more they become who we are.
Yes, which is the power of embodiment and having a daily practice.
Yeah.
You've got to pull it into the physical body so that you rewire those pathways and so that you reprogram those stress responses and negative self-talk and those sorts of things. Yeah, absolutely. I was going to touch on that a little bit more. It's gone out of
Again,
my
this
mind.
is where you find Aimee while she racks her brain on what she wants to say.
Well, I think actually, rewiring of the nervous system is also so important. And so this is where I'll lead into, like, we're a product of our environment.
Totally.
We need a daily practice, we need some tools to recognize our mindset, to create healthy parent, healthy child relationships on the inside, to create a practice where we're moving energy through us, transforming it, creating like this certainty within us about what we need and our boundaries. But then at some point we have to go out into the world. At some point we actually have to interact with our children, we have to interact with our now I've got to put it all into practice.
Humans.
Yeah. And this is really where the fun starts, because very quickly you're going to see, and it's going to, like, when you shift your own mindset and you can see the bigger picture, you can start to see the reality of the situation and not the blinkers that we've been seeing. Really quickly you're aware who in your relationships and who in your life are just really toxic.
Yeah.
And they're not able to relate consciously. They're very much in an external projection of blame.
Bitchy, gossipy.
Nothing's ever, and it's not even that nothing's ever their fault, but it's like always focused on the problem and never focused on the solution.
Yeah.
Always in a state of victim, never in this state of how can we co-create together.
Empowerment.
Exactly. And so something that I've noticed really similar, some of you might remember my face from the transformational show Love in Quarantine with the amazing Claire Elizabeth Day. Man, like, so epic in the transformations, probably why I'm here speaking about this today. But through that, I've made really amazing relationships. And so it's like, okay, so now I get to put this stuff into practice. So now I get to witness all of these tools and have relationships really powerfully with someone like yourself. We get on the phone and we create
7 hours
it's
later.
amazing, exactly. Or I meet men, whereas my old story was very much men. It was very negative. I know, was that too?
Go on, share. You were going
well, yeah.
Because the reason why, the intention why, is because if they're sitting at home going, oh no, I'm fine, but you say something that's floating around in their head, they're going to go, oh, there it is.
Yeah. And so I was in a toxic relationship. I've been in many toxic relationships, and my story was that a man is never going to be good enough.
Yeah.
A man's never going to have the same thoughts that I have.
Yeah.
I must be so different because men just don't get it.
What's that book? Women are from
Mars.
Venus? Yeah, that
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yeah, literally a book about them being on a different planet.
But there's so many at the moment. Another one for those watching is like The Queen's Code and The Keys to the Kingdom. Like, there's so many of these books that are actually going, yes, we are different.
Yeah.
And yes, if we can understand each other in our differences, we can not only learn for ourselves our patterns and behaviors that stem from, like, when we were hunter and gatherers and men were like in the kill and women were gathering and not in the kill. You know, it's in our blood, it's in our ancestry. Yeah. But we can then also come together and go, oh, yes, I am a beautiful woman and I'm emotional and I'm embracing my chaos and I'm embracing my woman, my divine woman essence. and I'm self-responsible. So when I'm dealing with my partner who is a man, I'm going to sort all that shit out in my own practice so that I can come with you in a way that is powerful for you. I can come to you with, hey, I'd like to have a discussion about this, what time works for you. A very masculine way of saying, you know, the goal setting and the planning and honouring our king, if that's what we're wishing to have in our relationship. Because
or even our children, like with my son, like having him, like this is his kingdom.
Yeah.
Like he's the dude around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he would feel that.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful for them to witness mum and to witness the emotions that mum has and to witness the divine feminine and understand that. But it's also very beautiful for him to witness mum honouring his manliness and his
manhood.
Yeah, his manhood.
Yeah.
And that looks in many different ways, from like, you know, letting them learn mistakes and try things for their own and learn through them learning, not us telling. And
or even just spelling it out for the children when it's not personal. Like yesterday, we had some stuff stolen from here, and it has been probably 4 or 5 weeks of consistent issues in this neighbourhood. And I just got to this place where I was angry.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, like every time they would talk to me, I was very like straight and very sharp. And then at the end of the sort of afternoon, he looked at me really like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I was like, look, mate, I just want you to know this is not your fault. You didn't do anything. Like you're seeing this, but it's not personal.
Yeah.
So that when he is around a woman that's in her emotion, he can go, okay, that's the thing that my mum taught me how to identify and not take personal.
Yes.
And I can be supportive and I can be great, but I don't have to beat myself up and question myself and, you know, like...
Try and fix.
Exactly.
Which is a very a programmed behaviour of men, is they want to find a solution, they want to fix.
Yeah.
And often women just want to be witnessed in their emotion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think this is a real common thing that needs to be healed for men and women, is the men to be able to like actually go, whoa.
Just hold space.
And I like to call it not the solution holding, but the emotional holding.
Yeah.
And it's this beautiful presence. When, similar example, my dog got poisoned on Friday night, my wild, chaotic woman came out.
Yeah.
Protector. Protector, but also I needed protecting.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, 2 kids and I've got shit happening here and this happening here, and now my dog's being poisoned, and I went through my list of men. Who can I call? Unfortunately, none of them were available, but that's okay. But like, I was like, all right, who are the conscious men in my life who know this language, product of environment? This is the original, what we were talking about. I can't just ring any male, because if you haven't done this work, they're going to be like, how can I fix, what do I, you know, and it's like, you can't do anything right now. You're not here, you're not in my presence, you're not able to take over. Actually, I just need a man to be like, oh, Ames, like, 1, breathe, and 2, you've got this.
Yeah. I'm
here as a phone call away. If you do need me to meet you at the vet, whatever. But it's just that emotional holding.
Yeah. 2 of my closest friends, guys, if you're watching, Andre and Sean, shout out. Like, Sean's my emotional resilience.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm emotionally not coping with whatever, he's the one that goes, you know, oh, you forgot who you are.
Yeah, and this is the power of the environment. So this is how we got onto this topic of like, who's in your world? Yeah. Because if you're going to people and they're just feeding the chaos, feeding the drama, feeding the whatever, it's really disempowering. And
then Andre is he's like, if I have something tangible, an issue,
he can solve it.
Like yesterday, he took a JB Hi-Fi to get security cameras.
Yeah.
Like we're doing the things, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and he doesn't entertain the Candy hates this neighbourhood part of me that showed up yesterday.
Yeah.
And he's really like, right, what are the actions we're taking?
What's the powerful action?
Yeah. And they both work for me, right? So he does all of my all of the structures and like getting my website to sync up with all the other platforms and getting everything structurally to work. And Sean gets me emotionally to work.
I actually love that you've brought this up, because I remember now on the phone we were talking about like powerful action versus disempowering action, and it ties into like acknowledging the little girl inside of us that's been wounded or hasn't been heard. And earlier this year I went through an experience that really sent me into trauma. And through my trauma response, because I do have a daily practice and because I do have tools that allow me to fully feel the hurt and the betrayal and the overwhelm and move it through me, and then come back to this space of like center and what do I need now? What does my little girl need? And in that moment, my little girl needed some validation.
Yeah.
And she needed validation from men.
Yeah.
And so a typical assumption or pattern that plays out that may be unhealthy is we break up with someone, or we get wounded or traumatized or whatever, and then we go, oh, and I'm just going to go and sleep with the next person.
Yeah, the rebound conversation.
The rebound, I know. I'm so glad that this was triggered, because this is so powerful, like really, really powerful. And I'm actually trying to have this conversation with my daughter at the moment. She's 16 and coming into this world of breakups and first loves and what is socially acceptable versus what do I actually need.
I've been crushed, my heart's broken. I know, I'll reduce myself. That will fix it.
Yeah.
Somehow magically.
But that stems from, we actually do require some validating. It's not healthy when we go, oh, I need validating, but I'm not gonna recognize that, and I'm just gonna unconsciously end up in bed with somebody.
I'm just gonna go sit on someone.
Instead of, this was my practice, this was like, oh, you know, and I'm crying, I've moved all this emotion through me, and I've had anger, and then I'm like holding, and then it's like, oh, I just really actually just need a man to tell me that I'm worthy.
Yeah.
And so I play out in my role like, is that really unconscious? Is that me just wanting to, and I'm like, no, actually, my little girl wants to be heard in her betrayal and in her hurt and in her experience of what has just happened. And so I reached out to a coach, a male coach that I really trust and that I know he's on the same mindset. Hey man, this has just happened. Good friend has just really, really fucking hurt me. And in actual fact, I kind of just need some male validation.
Yeah.
And that's really healthy.
Yeah.
You know, that's a really healthy action where you have created the safe container to feel. You've come back to this state of what do I need? And then you've taken action. I'm not going to jump in bed with some stranger to get the validation.
You feel predictably better afterwards, whereas if you jump in bed with a stranger, you feel shit.
Yeah, because you're giving your power away, you potentially get into another really unhealthy relationship, potentially you bypass all of the needs and you're numbing.
I know, I'm just going to see someone for 6 weeks and run from my problems so I don't have to acknowledge them.
Yeah, whereas this is a really healthy, and I got exactly what I needed back, and he was like straight into the point of, oh my god, no way, get those people out of your life, you don't need them, like you are fucking amazing, you are gorgeous, and you know, you're gonna open your world up to all the things that, and you know, I did, you know, it is
boundaries in.
Yeah, boundaries in, validation in, and in a really, really healthy way.
Yeah.
And you know, again, I'm just gonna, I guess, speak from somebody who has such a loving heart, and there's a lot of throw around with the word of empath at the moment, like, oh, I'm an empath, and oh, I'm this, and you know, like, oh, anxiety and overwhelm, and it can be really empowering to go, yes, I feel a lot. It can be really disempowering to get stuck in the victim state of I'm an empath and therefore I just feel too much.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to feel too much.
Yeah.
And actually what I think you are, and what I think more and more people are, is we're actually just vessels to transform and transmute emotion or energy, however you want to feel it. And so all of these empaths in the world who are getting labelled as an empath and getting stuck in their victim mode of feeling too much and being too overwhelmed, well, I'm really sorry, this might be a bit harsh, but just wanted to use that. learn to move that emotion through you, because actually you're a really powerful being.
Yeah.
Like,
what's that saying? You can save a man's life with a scalpel, or you can take a man's life. The tool is that you can feel the energy. What you choose to do with it is up to you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And especially in this world currently, I believe this is why we've got so many empaths in the world. This is why, especially a lot of the age group, I guess, of kind of 16 to maybe 25, you see a lot of depression, a lot of labeling of bipolar, a lot of porn addictions. We've also talked about this. A lot of men and women who are not realizing the after effects of getting their hit online or something that's really, really dysfunctional and numbing.
It's really common in my practice that I will have somebody who's usually under 30, and they're already completely sexually dysfunctional, like their sexual organs don't work whatsoever, because they have overstimulated themselves in running away from the problem. And the sad thing is, like, they'll have these addictive behaviours using porn once a day. It doesn't really matter, as you said, as an addict, we discount how often we do things.
Yeah, we're in a distorted state of reality.
Exactly. So it doesn't really matter how often they were doing it, but regularly enough that one day they just woke up and their sexual organs aren't working.
And it's not just men, it's men and women. Yeah. And it's porn, it's using really quick fixes to get the pleasure. It really is giving our pleasure away to a state that we're completely numb inside.
Yeah. And it's like this forcing of physical stimulation, as opposed to like when you're mentally stimulated, you don't need to force anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's really sad, because I have, my office is regularly full of people saying, I just want to date someone, but I can't feel anything.
Yeah.
I just want to get married and have children, but I have erectile dysfunction because I watched too much porn when I was younger.
Yeah.
Or, women coming to me saying, I just want to be connected to my husband again, but I don't feel anything when we're intimate. And it's that overstimulation of unnatural sensation as well.
Absolutely, and I can totally relate, and a lot of my clients are very similar in, like, I just want to feel again, or I just want to be able to
physically and emotionally
feel sensual in my own body. I just want to be able to make love with the lights on and feel comfortable in my skin.
And the amount of people that don't even know what sensuality is. And I had this conversation recently with somebody about they're like, oh, you're a really sexual being, and I was like, oh no, this is just my sensuality. My sexuality is something else. Very different.
And that's a big distinguishment as well, because when sensuality, you were saying this, touched on this earlier, when sensuality is embraced, it's an essence. It's like the woman who walks, or the man who walks into the room, and like, they're not demanding the attention like a performer, but it's like, whoa, like that is a presence, there's an energy, that is someone who holds themselves, who is unaffected by the opinions of others, but also very aware how she's presenting in the world, or how they're presenting in the world. It's definitely something that I'm super passionate about awakening in people, because that's our true essence.
So sensuality also registers as self-respect for me as well. Sensuality is like lighting candles, using essential oils, playing really cool music, dancing with your eyes closed. All of that. And it's like, that all shows up as self-respect for me. And people that aren't taking time to nourish their body, to look after their skin, to hydrate themselves, that's all sensuality for me as well.
Absolutely.
And if you're not doing that, you're disrespecting yourself.
Absolutely. So this coming back to self-love, and sensuality and self-love definitely go hand in hand, because people are like, oh, self-love, go get a massage.
So disconnected.
Sometimes, but actually self-love is being able to cook yourself a really great meal when you don't feel like it, or notice that when you're needing to run yourself a bath for some relax and restoration, putting in those boundaries with your children or your ex-partner or your parents, So yeah, and that comes with having a daily practice that awakens your sensuality.
Yeah.
It's also your creative power.
I got really tired and run down last week, and I went to see my partner, and I get there and she's like, try this dress on. And I'm like, this is new, I haven't seen this, tried it on. She's like, you're wearing that, and here's where we're going. And I was just like, and it's nice to have the kind of relationship where when you forget about your sensuality, there's someone there to remind you of it.
Absolutely.
Like when you're, when I do step into my masculine, I'm all about creating results at work, or I'm all about getting the kids sorted out for school.
Yeah.
And then someone goes, put this on.
I actually really love that, because that is the mindset that supports the embodiment. Yeah. And this is why they're so powerful, and go hand in hand. And to create rituals. Again, I love rituals, and people get like all wigged out and like, oh, what do you mean a ritual? And it's like just a daily practice, something that you do that helps you shift and change. We're women, we don't always have to be in our feminine. We are, I'm a single mom, as you are. We're in our masculine a lot of the time when we're parenting, we're the masculine energy, when we're creating.
Business owners as well.
Business owners. And so to create this daily habit or this daily ritual that allows you then to transform and come back into your feminine when you're with your partner or when you're with whoever it is. And that's really important, because sexual attraction, moving away from sensuality and moving into sexual attraction, if we're talking about relating consciously in a partnership, in a like intimate relationship, a common mistake I witness is something happens and the spark is lost, and it just gets to the point where there's just no coming back from that. The polarity gets so far, the wounding gets so far that it doesn't matter how much these people love each other, unless they get some external help and some external coaching, it's just not, they don't have the tools to come back.
And they don't have so the most important thing is, as the polarity has happened, as you were describing, they've actually groomed themselves a new unconscious set of programming. And the more they move apart, the more they will get, say they've moved completely apart and totally wounded, as you said, their unconscious programming will stay here. Yeah. So if you're the kind of person that's picked a fight with your partner, and then later you're like, what is even my problem? Yeah. It was just or you find yourself slamming a door in the kitchen or something dramatic like that, and then you're like, I'm not even that angry. Yeah. I'm just in an automation of argument and reaction. Yeah. And the beautiful thing that I learned about Tantra is, as soon as there's something in the space, acknowledge it and get it out. Yes. Because otherwise you're just going to be stacking all this crap. And the more you, in the space between two people, the more that there is stacked up, the further you're programming yourself apart. Yeah. And the worst thing you can do is just let it fester and stack. Yeah. And if you haven't had the training to be able to acknowledge something, transform it, take it out of the space, then that's when you unconsciously train each other to be in the polarity and the way that, like you said. And it generally plays out in this really unhealthy masculine and feminine role. Yeah. So the masculine becomes either an unhealthy version of the masculine, so the holding and the presence and the logic becomes dominating, controlling and belittling, and the feminine either flips into an unhealthy masculine, because that's modern day women's general dysfunction, because we've spoke about just recently the feminine movement and what that did for the women, and so we either slip into an unhealthy masculine ourselves. There's no spark when we're both in masculine energies. On the masculine as well, the dude will either go into the toxic reduction, or he'll go into hyper-feminism. Yes. And be a total pushover. Exactly. And it's so many, and I've actually been in this, where I'm like, just be a man! I want to make the man. Yes! I just need you to hold this space. And, and they do. They get into this really unhealthy feminine. And it's I love the play out of let's go out. Where do you want to go for dinner? I'm going to be the man. Where do you want to go for dinner? And it's I don't know. How much dinner choose?
well, I just want to take you, you know, it's like, dude, just like,
pull up out the front and get in the car.
yeah, like you said, here's the dress,
Yeah.
put it on, and we're going for dinner.
Mm.
And we're going for dinner at a place that I know you love, because that's just as important as going for dinner where I want to go for dinner, being the man. But actually, no, I'm honouring you so much that I'm totally going to take you out. I'm totally going to dominate you, and
You're gonna love it.
And exactly, because I'm so present in your situation and in what I know that you love, that you are going to love it. So this understanding of how this to have a sexual intimacy and spark, we've got to be in the polarity of masculine and feminine. I know a lot of working women who I encourage them to, as they come through the door, they have a ritual to get them back in their feminine. So a lot of women who are in real estate, and it's like, all right, so some of them it's to have a shower, some of them it's to like get undressed and put like some silky underwear or nightgowns or something. So it's something that is flipping them back into that, into their feminine, so that you can have that spark and that desire and that passion again. Yeah.
It's a common thing for me to do when I'm starting to get too masculine, too structured. Is I will go, I'm just going to go have a shower, and everyone in my house knows what that means. Yeah. It's and it shows up in a sensory overwhelm for me. Yeah. So I go have a shower, and then when I come back, I'm normal mum again, or the normal missus again. And a couple of weeks ago, my partner was going through some stuff. She's got a grandparent that is in decline. So grieving. And I was like, I just want to take her out to dinner. She's done nothing but cry for a couple of days before thing. And not drama or anything like that, just like natural grieving. And I was like, I just want to get her out in the sunshine and do something. And I'm like, I've got my kids, I can't, like, they're just going to play up in a restaurant. Like, what the fuck do I do? And so I went to the store and I got all these cheeses and all these like dried fruits and stuff. And I was like, meet me at the front with 2 wine glasses in 5 minutes. And she's like, what? And I'm like, bring a jumper. And then we just went down and sat on the lawn. And she watched me attack the children trying to play volleyball. And by attack, I mean tickle and carry on. And then like she ended up getting up and we played volleyball together. And we came home. She's like, I really needed that. And I was like, I know. So this is again really powerfully consciously relating. Stepping outside of the emotions, stepping outside of, oh, my partner's just really emotional because her grandmother's really unwell, or my partner's just really emotional for whatever reason. And it's like being able to then step like that bird's eye view, this witness, as to say, this grief is completely normal. It's heavy and it's yucky and I can't fix it, but we can still get the sunshine. Yes. And it's also a great reminder, because I love to, like a common thing that I hear, or excuse that I hear, is I don't have any money. Like, you don't need the money. Didn't ask me anything to do with that. Like it's actually just about using that part of our mind, our conscious mind, to choose to make powerful choices. You know, you just bought a little bit of cheese. I made the kids help me with it all, right? So I was like, because my daughter Gabby's really quite picky, so she helped me pick the cheese, and then I got these flowers, and I was busy doing something, and I was like, Ashton, give these to my missus and say, Mum said you had a shit day. So I'm teaching him to acknowledge the space, know that he doesn't need to fix it, but still put a little bit of like sunshine into his life. And then my daughter Gabby rocks up with the cheese, and like everyone's happy, right? So it's like, we don't need to rush in and smother and try to fix and change, but just hold space. Like, Mrs. had a shit day. This is the protocol. You know, like just sunshine, flowers, wine, cheese. And what I really want to recognize here is the elements. You said before your ritual is to have a shower. Water is the element of cleansing and holding grief. You know, so going to water is why the ocean feels so amazing. It's why having a shower feels so amazing. And I'm a Cancerian as well, so back to the element. And so for anyone who's watching, if you want a really simple take-home tool when you're feeling an overwhelm, especially if the overwhelm is an overwhelm of sadness or grief,
get to some water, even if it's as simple as running your hands under the water and setting that intention to just allow the water to hold your grief and to move the grief through you. You went to the sunshine, rejuvenation. Like, you don't even have to know a lot. Just actually tune into your initial feelings. What does the sun do? Oh, it brings life. If I'm feeling shit.
Vitamin D is mood boosting too.
Yeah, if I'm feeling like I need a bit more passion, a bit more fire, a bit more rejuvenation, let's find some sunshine and let's like embrace the warmth and the re-life that comes from sunshine.
And then the air, getting out in the fresh air.
Getting the fresh air, again, like, I mean, the fresh air, the element of wind is movement, you know, of again, kind of like water, of allowing things to pass through us, but oxygen. Where, how much time do we spend inside, breathing shallow? The single most potent tool to get into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the state of calm, is to slowly lengthen your exhalation, your breath.
Yeah, and that also promotes heart coherence as well.
Yes, yep, absolutely. So, you know, you're feeling the overwhelm, you're feeling whether it be anger or jealousy or just a reactive state. Oh, I'm in a state of reaction, let's play witness. Let's connect to my breath, let's connect to my parasympathetic nervous system, let's rewire the nervous system. Actually, I think it's really important to mention here, if you have been in a toxic relationship, I'm sure many of you many of the, as sad as it is, but it is also a reality. If you've been in a toxic relationship, and it can be from our parents, it can be from a partner, it can be from a workplace colleague, if we have experienced abuse and stress, our stress responses in our body are going to have become automatic.
Yeah.
So we are actually addicted to the cortisol and adrenaline pumping through our system, and it becomes our normal. Exactly. So it's very challenging to actually heal that without some solid tools.
Yeah. Some
solid tools, a coach or a mentor who's trained in trauma response, who's trained in grief, and who's going to actually, like, you should never leave. And again, I might actually just give a little warning sign to all of these kind of pop-up healers and people who are doing God knows what, shamanic soul retrievals, all these kind of whatever the name is that they want to give it, and they awaken something within you. If you're leaving someone's house or someone's session in a lesser state of what you entered, please do not go back. Yeah. If you are leaving in a state of more trauma response, more overwhelm, more stuff to the surface, and they're kind of saying, oh, you just need to have some more sessions with me to clear all of this, it's really not a safe place to be. It's really not a safe person to be working with. If they've trained in trauma response and if they're trained how they should be, you've got to be leaving. Like, even if my clients have a massive emotional release, at the end of our session, they're feeling better. They're feeling better, they're feeling more clear, they're feeling more certain, they have tools to self-parent, so they know that when they leave, if they are triggered again before our next session or before whatever, they need to reach out. They're responsible to seek some support, and they've got tools to witness what's coming up, to process what's coming up, and they have a choice. They know that they have a choice.
And sometimes that's just an alignment of not being with the right person too. Like, I had a couple come in once, and he had a profound experience with me. He like floated out the door, and she sat in here like just refusing to budge from the bitchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she left, and she's like, well, he got all this, and I got nothing, and I was in the world of, you were going to do my programs, you're shopping around, go and do someone else's program, we're not a match.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if being in the, like, she got a bit of a result with me.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that like I'm a bad person or anything like that. It just means that she obviously had something going on with a woman energy, perhaps.
Well, and this, to me, that sounds like somebody who's actually still in victim mode.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what therapist she was probably going to go to.
Yeah.
She was probably going to try and manipulate and always be in a victim mode. So I'm talking about those of you who are in a state of action, who you know that you're already kind of in that space of I want to heal and I'm healing and I'm wanting to do the work, because realistically you and I are just guides.
Yeah.
We're able to show people how to transform, we're able to take people through a process, but they've got to want to. They've got to want to let
I
go of the
instinctively
problem.
feel like that she would have been a better match with a male coach.
Because,
I just feel like I had this instinctive energy that it's because I'm a woman and that's cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, the gent that came along, he was actually having issues with his dad in his session. So if I was a male, that probably wouldn't have
Wouldn't
been
have.
him.
Yeah.
So it's not about necessarily so much like bad people or something like that. It's not what Aimee's trying to say. It's more about really listening to yourself before, during and after each session. If it doesn't feel right before, during and after, like sometimes you might resist it and not want to go, that's different.
Yes.
That's like refusing to want to see your stuff.
Yeah.
But just the whole, like if you feel like within your body that you don't feel at ease in the presence of that person.
Yeah.
Before, during and after your session or your training, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Like there is somebody way more aligned to you out there.
Yeah.
And we really do, like back to that jigsaw metaphor, we've really just got to trust where the pieces click in.
Absolutely.
And stop trying to like force stuff.
Yeah.
Because I could have really rang that woman and said, hey, you know, come back, we'll do some more work, like eventually we'll get there. And at first I did, I think. But at some point I just went, no, she's somebody else's human.
Yeah.
You know, she's somebody else's energy and somebody else's vibe. And I really feel like there was a very feminine, like, bitchiness going on there that needed to be kind of, like she needed to be coached from a male.
And I can totally relate to that. I've actually, just before we all went into this crazy lockdown state and everything, the world's changed, I was over in Queensland coaching for my coach at his kind of twice yearly event. And I was coaching a beautiful young woman who's now one of my dearest friends, and we work quite closely together. And I could just feel her too much. My feminine was just feeling her feminine too much. And I knew what needed to be said, and I knew I say I need to put on my man pants when I need to be like a little bit more firm and like, you know that this is what's going to get the result, get back in the room. Not like, oh yes, I feel you. And like, you know, I have this very the whimsical nurturing side of me. And I basically said to her, I was like, I need to go and get a man. And it was the same man, funnily enough, that I reached out to earlier for the validating. He was a great guy. Ado, I'm going to give you a shout out, Adrian Mumford. But yeah, when I got him, and I was like, dude, this is you. Like, and this woman needed healing from the masculine. Yeah. And this was her trigger. And I've actually seen that and gone, okay, actually, do you know what? You need a safe masculine. You need to rewrite that story. Yes. I had to rewrite my story that men were unsafe, that no man was ever going to blah, 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 all of the things that we say.
That was old me.
That was old me. And Ado was a big part of rewriting that story. And then you just keep bringing these people into your life and you keep creating more tribe that think the same way.
I call my boys the soldiers. They're my soldiers. They're my protectors.
Yeah. And really validating that in them because that is what men need.
And I tag them, make them watch it.
Yeah, beautiful. I can tag Ada. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I did invite him, so maybe he might just jump on anyway. But I think that's really important as well, is this acknowledging that yes, first we do self-work. So, you know, what's the first step? Self-responsibility. What does self-responsibility look like? No longer in victim mode. I'm in a space of action versus reaction. Secondly, all right, so now I'm being self-responsible. What do I do? What does that even mean to start to heal? Well, like, start to see if we can play witness. Let's see if we can open up our tunnel vision. We can actually get a clearer reality, a truth as to the situation, not just our filtered reality based on past behaviours and past experiences.
And what Aimee's touching on there is the law of requisite and variety. Those with the most flexibility will rule the system.
Yeah. We definitely don't want to have this little vision that we're kind of...
Yeah, it's one way, it's black and white.
Yeah, no, it's not. That's just... So if you feel like you're like this, then like let that hit home, all right? This is where you need to start to take your action, open up that vision.
Yeah.
And then so right, so now we've got some truth and reality. I've got to self-parent nurturingly. I've got to heal that inner critic, that inner parent, that monkey mind that tells me I'm not worthy, that tells me to shut up and not share my emotions, that tells me I don't have support. Currently, don't have a car, caravan was in the mechanics, like old Aimee is being challenged at the moment, like all the shit's
You
coming
sound
up.
like me right now.
Yeah, there's something going on in the air, right? And the old Aimee is I do not have support. Alright, my mum was my support, she recently passed away. My brother is in the same state, but he's previously always lived in Victoria, and now that he's in the same state, he's busy, he's got his life, that's sweet, that's his thing. Dad's not in the same state.
Yeah.
I don't have any support. No, that is such an old program. Such an old program. So I'm like freaking out. I'm not even freaking out because I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, so car's getting fixed and this is happening and I've got to pick the caravan up. The caravan's ready. I don't have a car. And I just reached out to some guys in my tribe. I was like, okay, who's got a Truby? Message this person, message this person, message this person. I'm also going away to present on the weekend to a festival. I'm like, I love my space. I've got a 4-wheel drive so that I can sleep in it, in a caravan. None of that's happening. It's like being tested. But all like control, like lose control, Aimee. You don't have control here. It's like, okay, all right. So what am I doing? What's being presented at me? You know, let's get some reality. And these are all opportunities. Like, I like to call it the breakdown before the breakthrough. This is how I've learned to cope with breakdown in my life. This is a learning opportunity. This is a time to reprogram a new way of creating.
Yeah.
And so...
Julie Radix used to call it the brink of the breakthrough.
Yeah.
When everything feels shit, it's because you're either on the verge of it getting better or it failing completely. And what you say will determine the option. Again,
alive with tingles and energy, guys. Listen to your tingles and energy, okay? Because that's the vibration that's telling you yes, yes.
With every molecule in my body, fuck yes.
Yes, a full body, fuck yes. I love that. But it's so true because, you know, by an hour later, I had a guy who was able to drive down and pick up my caravan for me. And one of my exes, we bought a 4-wheel drive together, and I was devastated because it was his, you know, and he took it, and I was like, didn't even expect him to lend it to me, but I've called out and gone, hey, Murph, thank you so much, Murph.
Murph's getting tagged.
I've got to pick the car up after this, you know. I got here on public transport, and it's like, wow, he's going to lend me he's got another car, he's going to lend me the 4-wheel, so not only do I have a car, but I've got a 4-wheel drive for the weekend. It's a car that I feel comfortable in. And more than anything, that old program has shifted. I feel so supported. I feel okay in asking for help.
Because you created it.
Because I created it, and because I was willing and courageous enough to go, what's my pattern here? Because there are women that get support all the time because they ask for it. I just never asked for it, and so I just had this reality of not having it, or I asked the wrong people, you know.
We keep those people in our life to reconfirm it to us, though.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, my pattern was not asking. I probably also had the wrong people in my life as well to a certain degree, but I know personally, I just really didn't ask ever for whatever reason.
And did you say it's the ex that's giving you the 4-wheel drive? So just another example of conscious relationships, like that's not available to you.
Yeah.
Like if you're unconsciously relating to other people, you cannot ask your ex-partner to borrow their vehicle.
Absolutely.
Like it's just not available to you.
Absolutely. And you know, like as I said, like I assumed he would be needing his car for the, like I'm borrowing it from today, which is Thursday, until Tuesday next week, you know, and I've just assumed, and I haven't actually even spoken to, we broke up about a year ago, so it's been a good year, and haven't actually spoken to him too much in that time, and I've just reached out and gone, hey man, like,
obviously knows you well enough to know that you're not toxic.
Absolutely.
He's handing over the keys to his car.
Yeah.
He knows it pretty solidly.
And I've been doing this work for a little while, so you know, the old toxic relationships have ended, and that relationship was a beautiful and very conscious relationship. I think in the end, you know, just to talk a little bit more about relating consciously, in the end, our separation kind of went over about 8 months, and I was doing some coaching in life coaching and NLP, and getting really clear on me, and also healing a lot of wounds within myself, and consciously I was able to see his personal guilt. So he wasn't the father of my children, and when we first got together, his intention was to not abandon, you know, like to not leave, and to make sure that that didn't happen to the kids. Reality is, it got to a point in our relationship where it wasn't working, you know, and actually in our 3.5, 4 years together, he lost his dad to cancer, and then I lost my mum to leukemia. So it was quite a surreal experience anyway. But consciously, I could see that he needed to be let go without guilt and shame, you know, and permission, yeah. And like, what a man to put himself last because of promises he'd made to the kids. Yeah. But then, I know, but then that in itself became unhealthy. Yeah. So conscious relating isn't necessarily what we logically think is best. Yeah. Yeah, conscious relating is getting really true with what is alive for us. The higher self. And the acknowledgement that, fuck yeah, we needed each other in those times. I can't even begin to explain what I was for him when he lost his dad. And then within months for my mum to get ill, and then the support he gave me in my losing my mum, like, there was no other way that was meant to be. Yeah. And it was. I mean, I think my mum said on my deathbed, "Don't you ever let him go." And I was like, a couple of months later, like, okay. So, I don't think this is working, Mum, but it's for the best. So good. I know that you had my best interest at heart, mother dear. Yeah, so conscious relating, you know, get real with yourself. Get real with the situation, own it.
Get a third independent party.
For guidance, because when the emotions are strong and when the shit is in the mix and it's real and alive, you've got to have some external guidance of proper tools and resources.
Not just the local shazza.
No, not just the person at the bar, and not just a book. Yeah. We can learn so much through a book. We're reading the book through our filter. Yeah. We're not seeing the truth.
Yeah, and lineal learning is very different to metaphysical learning as well.
Yeah. Got to get it into the body.
It's not a cake like recipe.
Yeah,
it's not beat 2 eggs and stir in chocolate chips.
No.
That's not how it goes.
And rewiring the nervous system is a process. It's a real process that takes time. So we've really got to put in the time to allow ourselves to make mistakes, and then come back with nurturing and self-love, and just slowly.
Or it's always going to go the way it's always gone.
Yeah. So if you're somebody that's sitting at home watching, just saying, "Oh yeah, but it's them," and "Oh yeah, but if only they would," and "Oh yeah, but my kids, you don't understand my trauma," or "My story is harder than yours," or "My family situation isn't like yours." Well, I'm really sorry. Everyone is different. And
communication is the response you get.
Yeah, and we're all the same, that it is our responsibility.
Yeah, whatever you say shows up.
Yeah, it does.
And if it's like, if you walk around saying it's their fault that our relationship is fucked, then you're creating that your relationship is fucked.
Yeah. And really easily, like, what that looks like is you may not be creating what they're doing to you, but you're creating them in your life.
Yes.
And so
giving them permission to be there.
Yeah, as long as you're blaming externally, you're failing to go, oh, this is my weak boundary.
Yeah.
This is where I'm not valuing myself enough. This is where I'm not honouring myself enough.
I hope a couple of hundred people hear that.
Yeah.
I think that one would have hit home.
Yeah.
Like the whole complaining about them being in my space, but I've let them be in the space. That's a good one.
It's like, can I have like 5 hands? You know, yeah, because again, when you're a seer of good, when you're like a seer of light, a seer of love, that's what we do. We're like, oh yeah, but you know, I can see the good in them, and it's like, no, you can still see the good in them.
Come back with the change behaviour.
Yeah, and the only way they're going to get that change and to have that light bulb is for you to go, sorry, I'm not dealing with this anymore. And like, I'm actually going to share here, so my king in my household is 14. Whew, we all know that age if you've had a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, and I think I was explaining to you on the phone, maybe not, but anyway, probably. Like, it's gotten to this point where, so single Aimee has had her daughter at 19 and has had 16 years of scarcity mindset. I can't be successful because I'm a mum, I don't have time, I can't do everything, and I've got no support. Oh yeah, strong independent woman.
Sounds like anybody at home.
Yeah, experiences nothing because she gives all her power away and all of the things. And it's like I've been going through this transformation for a good 6 years now, but really heavily for the last three years. And so that scarcity mindset is shifting. My business is booming.
Yeah.
So it's like, sweet, of course. Like, I know my worth now. I know my value. I know that the tools I give people are life-changing. So I no longer give my shit away for free like I used to, because I used to want to help everyone.
Yeah.
None of them would do anything because I was giving it away for free.
Cycle.
Exactly, feeding the wrong people. Now people invest in themselves. They get massive results, and I'm investing in myself. Hey, Mr. 14-year-old, sorry. Things are changing. You're not in this old way of being. We don't get to treat people like this anymore, or whatever it is, mum's busy, you need to contribute. And so
Mum's not the slave.
Mum's not the slave. Yes, I know in the past I may have been very reactive. In the past there may have been a lot of drama in our household, and I may have been healing from trauma. Yes, in the past. I get that you too have trauma and that you're going through things, and we are all responsible. And I'm shifting and changing.
Shift and change with me?
And yes, you are responsible. You're 14. I have a certain amount of understanding, and I'm going to support you in the ways that I need to. But if you don't support yourself, and if you continue to play out these really unhealthy kinds of behaviours, you continue to disrespect me and your sister in this home, you can go and live with your dad. You know, and like, as a mum, that's hard.
Yeah.
Like, it breaks you.
Yeah.
And there's times where my daily practice was calling in my priestess, my queen, which is like, what's best for this family in this moment? Like, what's best for this family in this moment? Like, my 9-year-old's getting traumatized. This is, you know, like, what is the solution? Just move away from the problem, move away from being focused on the problem, move away from the guilt, from the
And there's
past
always like a
behaviors.
quick fix, but if you sit with it for long enough, you always see the supreme answer.
Yeah.
The answer where everybody's needs are met. It takes a little bit more effort and a little bit more being present. But if you get it, then it's longer lasting.
Absolutely, and that goes for communicating with your exes as well. You know, so his father, it's been a cycle. It always is a cycle. Sometimes we can communicate, other times we can't. But previously to about maybe 3 or 4 months ago, I was in a really negative, like, it's not going to change. It was a down cycle. He was being quite abusive. He was in a down cycle. I was in a down cycle. So it was very much this place of impossibility. Felt very unsupported. Kids hadn't gone to see dad for nearly 2 years. So that's like a solid 2 years without a break when they've got no other real support. And my kids are homeschooled, so there's not a lot of that. Yeah, it's a lot. And so somebody, actually another male in my life, like I want a solution. So I'm even though I'm in this cycle of negative with that, outside of that, when I'm trying to solve the problems of my family, I'm always looking for a solution. And it just opens up a new way of communication, reminds me that I'm in a state of responsibility. And when I saw his this guy's advice on how I could approach my ex, he said, well, you didn't seek consent to give him your opinion. Fucking seek his consent to give him the father of my children. Like, I don't know. And that's, the reaction stage. And it's a bit ego. and we'll validate that and listen. And then we come back to, I didn't seek his consent. I'm so sorry that I didn't seek your consent before expressing my opinion. And I just want you to know that I'm just actually really emotional with the kids. And I'm sorry. And I remove everything else. I was sorry for my behalf. Oh my God, the shift. And I'm so grateful for that person holding me accountable. This is your environment is important. The people that you go and seek advice from need to be people that are going to give you good advice, not people that are going to keep you in that cycle of, oh yeah, he's a fucking idiot. Don't you how many times do you get fed that when you're dealing with an ex that is challenging or that you have different opinions?
They're the bad guy and you're perfect.
Yeah, and that's what the friends feed. It's not helpful. And if you have friends that feed that cycle, stop complaining to them, please. Go and find a coach to complain to, because they will actually help you in your solution.
Or simply request them hold you accountable. Because I remember I used to have this relationship with one of my old friends. I was a friend with him for 8 or 9 years or something, and it started out very like the toxic bitch in me was being too validated. Yeah, basically. And then I did some program, and I remember just saying, hey, can you call me out of my shit sometimes? Yeah. And in the beginning it was just sometimes. But the more we grew together in our friendship, the more we were holding each other accountable more frequently. Yeah. Love it when you have a friend that can see that as well. That's awesome. Because generally speaking, when you're having a shit day and you're just venting and outpouring, the mate that's sitting there receiving your communication, they just want to say whatever it is to make it better in that moment. They don't realize that they're actually feeding your ego. Yeah. And they don't realize that they have permission to go, must suck, and you could do this about it. Yeah. Instead of they're the bad guy. Yeah. I think that's actually, especially if you're a woman, I think that's actually also something really powerful to acknowledge within yourself as well. When are we just wanting to vent? And when are we wanting to problem solve and find a solution? Totally. Because a lot of the time, I'm just wanting to vent. Oh my God. And it's that part that often we don't give a voice to. Oh my fuck, the kids are driving me crazy. Blah, 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 blah. And we are in a bit of victim mode. Yeah. But we're just wanting to vent. Yeah. And so if you can say to your partner or your lover or your friend, hey, just gonna vent for 10 minutes and then I'll be good. Yeah. Then it allows them to go, oh, okay, sweet, they're just venting. Yeah. And then if you want to problem solve together, you can then be like, hey, now I'd love some advice. Can you hold me accountable now? Can we actually problem solve and can you hold me? Because we don't want to be venting in a vicious cycle. That's not venting. That's getting lost in our drama and our story. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I've had so much fun with you today. Thanks for coming on the show. Is there anything you want to share before we sign out? Just if anything has resonated with you and you're watching along at home, please feel free not only to tag people that you think this may benefit from. We're doing this because conscious relating is super important. We all need to relate more consciously with those in our lives.
If you are wanting to get in touch with me, comment below or find me on Facebook. And again, if anything has hit home, if anything has been that kind of landing of, oh my God, yes, I just so resonate with that, reach out. If you're in a space of taking action, this is the powerful action you can take. Say hi, leave a comment, PM me if you want to stay anonymous.
I know where to find it too, don't
I'd love to get in touch.
Awesome. Take care of each other, boys and girls. Bye for now.
Thank you.